For those of you who don't know, but I also feature sarcastic commentary on my Patreon, which isn't posted anywhere else. I thought that it would be fun to highlight the top snark from every single day as an incentive to get people to join. Decided to take it a bit slower than usual this month. To start with, Restore Me had way less chapters than the other books in this series, so that went slower, and there were way more chapters in A Touch of Malice. So here we are. Although I think a celebration is in order because I somehow managed to perfectly time the end of A Touch of Malice with the end of the month, which means that I'll be starting on chapter 1 of a new book for April. The commanders are sending their children to do the groundwork here because they don't think it's worth their time to come themselves. To be fair, they're not wrong. There's literally no reason why every sub-commander in North America would have bent the knee to Juliet. She's already proving in less than 100 pages that she's failing at being the leader. As it is, she's doing nothing to exterminate the rest of the re-establishment on the other continents. I mean, fork. She's not even doing anything to exterminate the re-establishment on North America. She basically bought the apartment complex, slapped on some new paint, and put up a sign that said, "Under new management, newly renovated," but it's the same forking shirt as it was before. Didn't you realize that someone would try to unalive you? Honestly, this book has been nothing but common sense things that we have to spell out to Juliet like she's literally never heard of the concept before. So, no, she probably hadn't even considered the idea that anybody would want to unalive her. They locked her up and kept her isolated from the world for literal years, and they're somehow surprised that she's a psycho who doesn't understand how the world functions. I get that these people are supposed to be the bad guys here, but they usually come with more basic common sense here. Do you honestly think that the narration would bother to actually move the plot along? Or did you fall into the trap and think that, like we're always hoping for, that the narration would not continue to bog down this already overly long series with yet more padding? What is this info, you ask? It's classified. These idiots are trying to bring down the re-establishment, have crowned Juliet their new queen. Warner has critical info about why the rest of the world hasn't attacked them just yet, but he refuses to tell anybody outside of Juliet about it. Warner. So anyway, that's why Juliet's birth caused the downfall of society. Kenji. Yeah. You can't keep being a sourpuss if you want to be in a relationship, ooh. Do you want to know what this story really, really needed more than anything else? An entire chapter that's nothing but Warner's ex-girlfriend attacking him and then Warner calling her out on her shirt. The thing that I 100% don't understand is that Warner said that he wanted to take down the re-establishment. All of the OP people said that they wanted to take it down too, but when they actually had this chance to take over and change everything, they don't. Instead, they just put a metaphorical crown on Juliet's head and changed literally nothing. In fact, it seems to me as though they're going out of their way to appease the other world leaders. Why? Was not the end goal to dismantle that shirt? It's like this book didn't have any actual villain, so it decided to throw in the petty ex-girlfriend who refuses to accept that Warner broke up with her, and then, because the author decided that it wasn't terrible enough, decided to pepper in some random transphobia for good measure. What's next? Gonna pull out some racism? How about homophobia? Fat phobia? Okay, so Juliet is angry at Warner for having told her about that stuff about herself. Warner is angry at Castle for having told him about the stuff about Juliet. None of them are getting properly angry at the people who are treating living humans like disposable party tricks and then raising up an army that then took over the entire fucking world. Like, get some goddamn perspective here. Step 1. Unalive Anderson. Finished. Step 2. Convince everybody in North America to be on your side. I guess. Step 3. Question mark. Step 4. Take over the world. Once again, this entire forking book read like it was nothing but filler. Like we were wasting time until we could get to this exact moment. Nothing that Juliet, Warner, or Kenji did in Sector 45 forking mattered. We're doing this now. This is an issue that I've talked about in length. Persephone's personality comes and goes at the whims of the plot. Right now, she's bitter and angry over what Perithyrus did to her. Ergo, she's going to turn into a bloodthirsty vengeance seeker. In the next chapter, she'll probably forget all about this and turn into a cute little fiancé for Hades or whatever. The narration will never once plague Persephone with a single thought about Perithyrus until it needs to dredge up more drama for her because the plot is moving too slow or whatever. Ben, I'm an oracle. Also, Ben, I will state a bunch of no-shirt Sherlock statements that even a 5-year-old could have predicted. What would it take for the upper world to see her as the underworld did? Literally telling them that you're not just some mortal, but a god. It's not forking rocket science, but with Persephone's singular brain cell, the narration makes it seem like it is. Aphrodite says that she asked Persephone there in order for her to uncover who did this. Hades isn't like this, but Persephone is like, I'm a big girl and I have Sophie. If I want to uncover domestic terrorist groups, I will. Because that's the kind of immature, irresponsible person that she is. Baby steps, sugar tats. If Hades manifests to kill you, I'm not intervening. What? It's not like I know what they taste like from experience. The simple fact that we're having this conversation is enough to send Hades into a rage. Maybe you should tell him that toxic masculinity isn't attractive. I'm not disagreeing with Apollo about toxic masculinity. All I'm saying is that making derogatory comments about another man's fiancé and them showing up to beat the snot out of them isn't toxic masculinity. But from Laura's perspective, Persephone's nothing but a mortal who fell in love with a god. Like, what did she hope to accomplish when she dumped the cup of coffee on Persephone's lap? Did she seriously think that Persephone would view the action as a wake-up call and break off her relationship with Hades? One issue was she didn't have enough information on Adonis's death, but perhaps they'd sought to draw Aphrodite out with his murder. One issue was she didn't have enough information on Adonis's death, but perhaps they'd sought to draw Aphrodite out with his murder. Am I having a stroke? How does this even happen? It's one thing to accidentally write the wrong tense for spit. It's something almost intentional at this point to write the same sentence twice. You think I would let what happened to them happen to you? He asked. Unless he's with her 24/7, yes. I do think that it could and will happen to Persephone. Even despite Sophie's presence, I think that is going to happen sooner or later in this story. I have been to their meetings and heard testimony, she said. Persephone made a mental note to come back to what Helen had just disclosed. Meetings? What meetings? The mortal continued. This man had cancer. He prayed to Apollo, offered sacrifices, even showed up at one of his performances and begged for his help. No answer, not a word. He came to Triad and one of the lords healed him. Persephone stiffened hearing his story. It sounded all too familiar. I know that this is supposed to be a story about ancient Greek religion, but don't tell me that this doesn't sound like those quack job Christian cults who go around proclaiming that they have healed the blind and made a crippled man be able to walk again. Like, how does Helen know that this man actually had cancer at all? Did she see his medical reports before and after? She sounds like literally the worst reporter ever who sees one act that requires blind obedient faith and never questions anything. You can stop, he said, his gaze full of rage. You can decide not to get involved. You can stop trying to change people's minds and save a world. Let people make their decisions and face the consequences. It is how the world worked before you, and it is how the world will continue. Hades doesn't know Persephone at all if he's telling her to do this. Persephone's personality might come and go at the whims of the author and the needs of the plot, but the singular consistent throughout all three books is that she blindly jumps into dangerous situation after dangerous situation without stopping to think. Theseus joined Triad after witnessing several men get away with murder despite their crimes being witnessed by mortals and divine alike. I remember their names, said Theseus. They were thieves and murderers, and they were allowed to continue their crime sprees despite the prayers of locals. I was tired of watching the world worship gods for their beauty and power rather than their actions. I get it. I really do. But at the same time, now that the group has a body count, they're literally no better than the people that they're fighting against. It's 10 in the morning, Apollo, Persephone pointed out, sitting at the breakfast bar opposite him. Your point? She sighed. No, Apollo, I don't want vodka. He shrugged. Suit yourself, he said, downing the glass. You're an alcoholic. Hades is an alcoholic, Apollo said. He wasn't wrong. And what is the narration going to do with this bit of information? Literally nothing and then quickly move back to the plot? Okay. She was literally just shot. Regardless of the physical damage, which she just healed, there's still the emotional implication of being shot, which takes a long time to get over. Now isn't the time for this. I feel powerful when I'm with Hades. I feel most powerful when we have sex. It's been a while since I've said this about the relationship, but sex is good and everything, but damn it, there needs to be other facets of any romantic relationship besides sex. Yes, the weirdness between them that's pushing Hades away is something that needs to be discussed, but sex isn't and should never be the be-all end-all of a relationship. And the fact that Persephone is bringing it up and Hecate is encouraging Persephone to fix a relationship basically by wearing some lingerie and jumping Hades is really worrying. I'm glad that this book is showing Persephone and Hades having a talk after he pushed her too far and she had a panic attack. I'm glad that they're talking about bedroom limits. But one nice scene of healthy communication doesn't make up for 3 books worth of bad communication and putting their arguments aside in favor of banging and then not dealing with their problems. They get married. It's long and tedious, and I know that the story has been building up to them getting married, but this adds literally nothing to the plot. Zeus is attacking Persephone because he's worried that she's too powerful and could overthrow him. Yet, by letting Demeter go unchecked for so long and refusing to address the situation of the terrorist groups, and specifically coming down to attack Persephone, Zeus literally turned this into a self-fulfilling prophecy. He is not a smart man, but what else is new? Why? What do you have against the gods? You were born from one. Oh, honestly, Persephone, Zeus isn't exactly the father of the year. Wow, okay. Wow, I knew that this guy was short a couple of fries, but I didn't think that it was release the Titans level of stupid. Like, if you think that the Olympians are bad, wait until he's under the rule of the Titans. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, then you can read the entire Snark in full context on my Patreon for $1 a month. Come back next month for more out of context comments.